Hey there everyone, Mazarok here, and today I want to go over how tanks have been looking so far in Season 1 of Dragonflight, right? We're coming up closely to 10.0.5, we've got some change in the trees coming to Bear and to Brewmaster, and I kind of just want to go over the state of the tanks, where they have been, where they are, and where they are going. Before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It goes such a long way to helping out the channel. There is a Patreon link down below if you wish to support me directly. I'm trying to do this full time, and you know, your guys' help is truly appreciated towards me making more content for you guys. There is a Discord link down below as well if you wish to join a wonderful community full of amazing people. And there are some merch for sale, t-shirts, long sleeves, and hoodies. I only do dungeons fully erect. I'm the healer now. Blood DK, hoodie, t-shirt, long sleeve, as well as I don't want to calm down. I want to rage warrior shirt. So before we do, I just want to put a little disclaimer there. I am doing this tier list style, but I'm not very, I thought of a couple different ways to do this, and honestly tier list just came up coming as the quickest and the easiest to convey what I'm trying to say. But I don't want to do these hardcore rankings where I'm like, this is exactly where they are or whatever. I'm just trying to convey kind of their general spot where they are and talk about tanks, right? First, we are going to start with Blood DK. Now, Blood DK is an incredibly solid tank, but does have the fear of getting globaled. I have seen some streams or some YouTube clips where Blood DK goes into a pack without Dancing Rune Weapon or a boss, and is particularly high key and just gets absolutely flatlined 100 to 0. So starting without your defensives like Dancing Rune Weapon or AMS, depending on the pull of the boss, can be incredibly dangerous for Blood, but once ramped up, they are almost immortal in the right hands and a ton of fun to play. I have already cracked 110, 120k HPS in certain pulls, and I haven't even really done many I haven't done any high keys on my Blood DK. And that's absolutely crazy being able to sustain those stupid numbers that they weren't even able to sustain in Season 3 and 4 of Shadowlands, right? When they were literally the god tanks of those seasons. A little bit less so in Season 4. The other tanks started coming up a little bit. But Season 3, basically the leaderboards were literally Blood DK for a country mile. But I'm going to give they're in a solid A tier for me. I don't know where else, that's really kind of where they are. There are a lot of fun, but I find without enough haste, Blood DK kind of hurts a little bit because your rotation is off, you can't pull your resources as efficiently, and the more haste that you have, I find that the easier it is to get your rotation off, to have what you need, and mistakes are a lot less punishing with that amount of haste. So that's where I give Blood DK. Solid A tier, really, really good. Bear is one I was actually starting to get a little bit hot on at the start. Oh, by the way, for Blood DK, there's no real changes coming to their spec tree, class tree, or any real tuning or anything like that coming for 10.0.5. So I do imagine they're going to kind of stay where they are. So let's get on with Bear. Bear was one that I was actually starting to get really hot on. They did seem to kind of, pay attention a little bit, and aura buffed 50%, all of their stuff by 50% except for Moonfire before launch, which it desperately needed because Bear was absolutely just butthole bad. But one of the things with Bear, whenever I play, I always feel like I'm lacking something. Their tree, you have to choose between a stun and in-cap roar, which really, really hurts, where CCs are incredibly important, and I find Bear has incredibly useful niche CC and stops and things like that, but not just the amount that you need or things that are just generally good in all scenarios, right? If you look at Blood DK, Asphyxiate, Blinding Sleep, Grips, Slappy Hands for movement, and interrupts. If you kite away, you can constantly be interrupting and get a lot of things off if you're playing that right. Bear just seems to be lacking, and I always feel like I'm just missing something. They don't have anything to bring their kick down to a lower cooldown, like Blood DK or Prot Warrior. They have to choose between a group in-cap, or a group stop, I guess I should say, with in-cap roar, or a single target stun. It just feels like they don't have enough tools to do some of the jobs sometimes, and are more reliant on your DPS and your healer using their kicks and their stops. And if you've pugged anything at all in Dragonflight, good luck with that. So that's where I kind of feel with Bear. Now, they are getting a rework on their tree. Lunar Beam is coming back. They are getting a new Iron Fur talent that deals damage whenever you press Iron Fur, so beginner bears can learn to press Iron Fur because it's going to increase, it's going to be on their damage pad, right? So they're going to want to hit it more, so it should help them out more defensively. Right now, I think Bear has been kind of a C tier, and I did go through Raider.io, and I had to go through 10... I had to go to the 6th page to be able to find a Bear. So right now, I think they've been kind of a C tier tank. I had them more in the B and A tier, but I just feel like surviving isn't the problem, right? Which is a very good thing to do. But I find threat has been a little bit more of an issue on Bear than other tanks. Damage is fine, but just the lack of utility, and especially in a season where the amount of utility that you have is so important. But they, like I said, they are getting that rework of their spec tree, and they are looking to be pretty decent. I would say Bear is definitely going to go up to more of a B tier tank, right? I think they're going to be a lot more solid, but I still think they're going to lack some of that utility that they can't get in their spec tree, which is locked behind the class tree. But the class tree is also getting a rework, but it's not reworking the things that they really, really need, which is outside niche utility. And where niche utility is useful, Bear is insanely solid. But you just need that general stop. Group stops, single stops, whatever you can do to get people to stop casting stuff that are non-kickable is very, very important. And I just feel Bear is lacking in that department, but that is just me. Brewmaster is one where I rated this tank really low. This was a C tier tank for me when I was doing all of my predictions and things like that, and I was wrong. I have to say I was wrong there. It is definitely more of a B to A tier tank, and if we go over now, you do have to go over to the 2nd or 3rd page. Give me a second here, but there definitely are some Brewmasters high up here in the top 100, which is really, really important. Here we have Blood DK, we have Paladins, we have now definitely has multiple tanks up there for sure, because of course he does, he's now. But Brewmaster is we are seeing green, and we're seeing green before we're seeing Bear, right? So, but I think the skill gap between the good players that play Brewmaster and the average player that plays Brewmaster is a lot wider than any other tank, because they just did get some buffs, and they're getting a tree rework, which is really, really good, because before that rework, they were the tank that needed the most amount of talent points to completely fill out their tree. And I think it was like 54 or 56 full talent points that you needed to fill out your tree, and of course you only have access to like 30. That's way too bloated, and that's another problem, is their rotation is, to me, it's a little bloated, but I can understand someone, and it's not a good or a bad thing, but there are a lot of buttons to press for Brewmaster, more so than any other tank, and while leveling my Brewmaster, this cave was a quick realization where I was struggling to find keybinds, where previously it was like, it was Warrior, where I was like, all right, where do I put this? Where do I put that? Brewmaster was just like, I don't have space for anything else, and you want me to add more. I just don't know where to do it. They added extra defensives with Dampen Harm and Diffuse Magic, which is really, really strong. They have a lot more. A Rising Sun Kick is now in their rotation fluently. And there's a lot of different things, and finding buttons to be able to press these and press them all consistently is not the easiest thing to do. But I think a skilled Brewmaster is definitely a crazy good tank. And I think in 10.0.5 with the tree rework, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more Brewmasters kind of start competing for that top spot. And I think they are looking very, very strong. Super low Celestial Brews. All around crazy strong. I'm gonna play, I'm like, if I could put like A, B, that's where I'd probably put them. But I'd say Brewmaster right now, because they're not on the first few pages of Raider.io, especially with how good some people play them, I'm gonna put them in high B. Like, that's kind of where I would see it, is like really high B. and then go from there. But I think we're going to be seeing, like, that's where I see them now, is high B, but I think they're going to be an A tier spec. I honestly think in 10.0.5 we are going to see the rise of Brewmaster come up from the ashes or whatever and definitely compete for the top spot. In fact, I actually do think they're going to be a little bit better than Blood. Because one of the things that Brewmaster is insanely good at is they do not get globaled. They might need a little bit more healer attention than Blood, but the fear of getting global just isn't there because of the stagger mechanic. There's, their active mitigation stagger, which just got buffed magically for 45% of magic damage instead of 35. And with the amount of magic damage coming in, that's actually really, really good and really strong. Add the crazy low celestial brews that are going on, and their damage output is actually crazy. It's one of the highest damage output tanks. They have a lot to bring to the party with a stupid amount of utility. Like, it's Brewmaster, right? They just bring utility. The amount of things that I wish I could rop on my warrior all of the time is crazy. And I think Brewmaster is really, really solid. And I think by the end, with 10.0.5, we're going to see them become an A tier spec. Prot Paladin. Prot Paladin is not getting any reworks, but they just got some minor buffs to their survivability and armor. And this is one where a lot of people were very, very down on Paladin, and I rated them very highly. I actually think they are an A tier spec. I think they're insanely solid. They're fun to play. Rotationally, I really enjoy it. I don't like Of Dusk Undawn, but I really enjoy the Sentinel gameplay and everything else. But, that's purely subjective if you like the rotation or not. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that's completely fair, but luckily their tree has a couple of different playstyles built in that you can really work around. Having easy access to Final Stand is really, really nice, and still having Righteous Protector, having Guardian of Ancient Kings every 45 seconds whenever you dip below a certain amount of health, as well as like a 2.5 minute Guardian of Ancient Kings button. I have the Tier Shield, I'm blanking on the name right now, thanks, I have Tier. Super low Ardent Defender. They gained so much in Shadowlands and they lost very little. Not to mention Divine Toll is still bugged and will fully fill your holy power bar from time to time. It will just do that. Come on. Sometimes you'll get 1, sometimes you'll get 5. Who knows? But I mean, if there's going to be a bug in the game, that's not a bad bug to have, really. And they are indeed, like, if you go over to, let's go over here. They're on the first page, right? They're on the first page. So really, really solid. And any tank that is on the first page within the first season, there's no way I could personally rank them any lower than A tier, right? Up next, my baby, my one true love, Prot Warrior. Now, Prot Warrior has been incredibly fun, and it feels so good for my favorite tank for all of time to be in an actual really, really good spot, because for some odd reason, whenever I've played WoW, it's never been in a good spot. So this is really, really nice for me, because, I played Prot Warrior throughout Shadowlands. It was, my main or my main alt, and it was kind of always my main character where I always got everything done on, no matter what. Like, I completed all the quests, I got all the reps, I got everything, because Warrior is Warrior, and that's what I enjoy. I'm struggling placing this one. A lot of people will say S tier, and they would be right. The thing that makes me not want to do this S tier is there are other tanks on the first page. If you look Season 3, Season 4 of Shadowlands, it was basically the Blood Death Knight show. Like, that's what it was, and the other 5 tanks were not even close to being there. There was Blood DK and everybody else. That's not the case in Dragonflight. In fact, while I think Prot Warrior is the best tank for Mythic Plus and insanely good in Raid right now, I don't think the gap towards how much better Prot Warrior is versus the others is that much. Because you can literally see there's other tanks. Now, it is mostly Prot Warrior, absolutely. But it doesn't take very long to start seeing other colors, and you see other colors on the first page. And that's not what it was before. S tier tank is basically, you have to sift through, if the top 40 are all one color, that's an S tier tank. You know what I mean? Like I'm very reluctant, but I can see why you would. And I could, if you was mentioned in the comment section and say, yeah, absolutely, Prot Warrior is an S tier tank, I'll agree with you. But due to like that difference, I'm personally gonna say it is like high A plus tier. Like it's like there, but it plays incredibly fluently. The talent tree is fun, and I have builds for different dungeons with different talents. It has a stupid amount of stops with easy access to Shockwave, Stormbolt, Shield Charge, Intimidating Shout. One of the lowest kicks in the game outside of Shaman and Blood DK. You know, I hit that thing and it's on a 13-second cooldown. I can solo kick mechanics on my Prot Warrior that I can only do with a Blood DK or a Paladin with Avenger Shield procs, right? And holding things like that. But Prot Warrior just has that naturally low. It's a 2 talent point take in the class tree, I'll give you that, but it's naturally low for especially for tanks. And you get a 5% damage buff for a couple of seconds whenever you kick something. So you actively want to keep it on kicking, constantly kicking the right things. Very important, but just the amount of utility that Prot Warrior brings, which was always a little bit of a struggle bus, especially in Shadowlands, where other tanks just brought more utility and better utility and did things better than them. Prot Warrior is finally in a state where they bring an insane amount of utility. I can take care of multiple stops by myself with Shockwave, Stormbolt, Shield Charge, and just constantly having to rotate things and moving things around. I can literally go into a Naku defensive and take care of Hunter's Prey. I can take care of Rally the Clan, and then when everything else starts going again, I can Shockwave everything for a nice big stop. Where on other tanks, that's a lot more difficult to do. All around, Prot Warrior, insanely solid. High A plus tier for me. Lastly is Vengeance. I'm actually, so this is, and there's no changes coming there's no changes coming for Protection Warrior. So I think they're going to remain in that top spot. I don't see it being the S tier like Blood DK Shadowlands was, but I do see it being still the top tank. Vengeance is another one. They did just recently get a small buff to some armor and magic efficiency damage, and there is a lot of magic damage in Shadowlands. But on top of that, this is the first time Vengeance Demon Hunter, let's put this here where you guys can see it. It's not going to end up in C tier, don't worry. This is the first time Vengeance has actually ever seen a tree, right? Because the new talent trees, I think Brewmaster as well, if I could be mistaken. I could be wrong. I didn't play him in Mists of Pandaria, but I'm pretty sure they reworked the talents for that. I could 100% be wrong, though. But for Vengeance, I'm dead sure. And man, they got a lot, and they got a couple of different playstyles, and they got a lot of fun abilities. They got more buttons to press, way more than they had before, because before Vengeance was like, my action bars were bare on Vengeance. Like, I don't mean bare as in rawr, I mean bare as in there's nothing there. Like, when I was first leveling my Vengeance Demon Hunter, I was like level 48, and I'm like, alright, where are the other abilities that I can put on my bar? And I'm like, oh, there are no more. That's not necessarily the case, right? Where I'm still missing some spots here and there, depending on what talents I take and things like that. There are multiple things that you can take for different occasions. If you want Fodder to the Flame, healing and damage versus Elysian Decree, which is pure damage, you do have that option ahead of you. You have the nice Fiery Brand build, where you are incredibly tanky in those Fiery Brand windows, and you deal a butt ton of damage, but you're a little bit of a glass cannon outside of those windows, or you can go with the more tanky, cheat death, Painbringer builds, right? But Vengeance right now is an insanely solid spot. They deal with magic damage better than any other tank almost. Aside from, I'd have to say, Warrior, which is a weird thing to say, but it's a really, really fun spec to play right now. Honestly, Vengeance has really grown on me. If you've watched this channel for any length or amount of time, you know that I was pretty hard on Vengeance for a long time. I had refused to play it for a long time. I did not care. It was the edgelord spec of, whatever edginess, and it wasn't for me. But over time, Season 3 I started playing it more, Season 4 I started playing it a lot more, and I've been playing it as kind of like my main alt now. It's currently the one that's in the second highest amount of keys, and I'm actually investing into crafted gear and things like that for my Vengeance, and I actually do enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun. The rotation is fun. It's got One thing I really like about the Vengeance tree, which is the same as the Prot Warrior tree, is you can change things around for survivability and damage and kind of pinpoint where you need things or where you want things. And they're incredibly mobile. They're a lot of fun, and they have a lot of ways to cheese movement mechanics, which there tends to be a lot more in Dragonflight than there was in Shadowlands. But I really, really do enjoy them. This is actually where I see the tanks in 10.5. 10.0.5, not 10.5, 10.0.5. This is kind of how I see where they're going to be and where they are. I think these 5 are in incredibly good spots. Every single one of them. Bear, I think, is going to need some help. One of the things that I didn't actually mention with Bear that's kind of holding it back is right now on the tree, the 1 Berserk node decreases the cooldown of Thrash by 100%, along with some others. That's going down to 50% in Berserk and Incarn windows in 10.0.5. Their tree's getting a rework for the better, but they're losing that, which means that Bear is actually losing their Thrash spam in Dragonflight. And that it seems like a conscious effort because they've been putting a lot more attention into Maul and Mangle, which, why, I don't know. Like, that's great for single target, but the thing is, I'm not hitting Incarn for single target. I am, if it happens, great, but I'm saving Incarn for big pulls. That's what big pulls are all about, and I don't want to be, like, I don't understand why Mangle would be a priority button versus Thrash in Incarn. That, to me, still kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, you know, if you get what I'm saying? But that's one thing that's holding Bear back. I forgot to say that. But this is where I think things are. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you guys. But I think tank balance is actually in an incredibly good spot, especially for the season 1 of an expansion. Because if we look back at season 1 of Dragonflight, it was Vengeance Demon Hunter and nobody else. And everybody struggled to live. Season 2 was a little bit more balanced. Season 3 and 4 were pretty much the Blood Death Knight show, and everybody else just tried to keep up. Now I think they actually, with the talent system, I think they did a really, really good job at tank balance here. But let me know what you guys think, and happy tanking. Bye.